They came in and were hungry from a hard day's work, and we took care of their suits, and they went back to the shuttle to go have something to eat and get ready for bed.
Okay, Houston, here's the morning of Flight Day 7, and you can see JR is getting the EVA repair information out of the printer. I hopped on the bike during the post-sleep time frame, got a little exercise in. It's good to do this, and then you can get cleaned up and you're all set for the day. Brew is doing some routine maintenance activities in the WCS, and of course, you know, we have to maintain the entire shuttle and do what the scheduled activities are. So he got that all taken care of. Danny is managing some of the videotapes for Photo TV. You can see them floating. It's a big organizational job, and he's doing a great job at it. Okay, the first thing we did was the solar array retract. I did this with Sunny Williams. Here she's setting up the computer on the aft flight deck. She is the one sending the commands today to retract the solar array, and then making the calls on the big loop to abort it. I'm looking out the windows with the binoculars. See, we got a camera set up, and we're all communicating on several loops there to make sure this went smoothly. Here you'll see some of the motion. We retracted one bay at a time. The first couple of attempts were very successful. We had a good snapback, which you may be able to see. A whole wave kind of went up the arrays and popped everything loose, and then we ran into a little holdup where we had a little guide wire sticking out that went slack, and then it corrected itself, and we were able to retract just a little more.
Okay, this is Brew, and in preparation for tomorrow's EVA, Danny's going to be flying on a space shuttle robotic arm that Steve Swanson and myself will be operating. In preparation for that, both Swanee and myself reviewed on a DUG display the exact trajectory that the space shuttle robotic arm will be taking as we pick up Danny and bring him back to the launch pod for the repairs. With a lot of the preparation done on the ground and a review of the procedures, it was time to tag up with the ground. This was a chance for us to interface with Team 4 that has really worked tirelessly preparing for this unexpected task of repairing the OMS pod. That involves everyone from flight director down to someone in each discipline. They run the procedures and prepare the procedures, if necessary, get in the MBL, and once we were able to hear their words on it, review the procedures again, we felt like we were ready to go. They actually sent up some videos that we could watch of them doing the work down there, which were helpful. Only so much can be described with words and with pictures, and the videos that they sent up helped as Danny then began to prepare to do this task. Once we had all the instruction from the ground, we got a team together that would be doing all the work on orbit. That includes the spacewalkers, myself, who will be reading the procedures, and then our two robotics operators, Lee Archambault and Steve Swanson, just to make sure that we knew each other's role and exactly what we were going to do. This isn't one that we were able to practice on the ground, and yet a combination of the work that was done by Team 4 and the time we spent today here, for example, is Danny practicing the staplers, using the stapler to put together two pieces of foam that represented the tile. This is the first time he'd ever had a chance to even hold this thing, and really did a great job. We're hoping that the repair will go just as well tomorrow. There's a SBS target that was taken off the station in the first EVA several days ago. Besides using the stapler, there's also a series of pins that are going to be used to secure the blanket against the tile, just to ensure that as the aircraft goes through the airflow as we return to Earth, that it does not blow back. This is Jenny and JR on their suit-up procedures. They're getting ready for the EVA. We are getting the suits all ready to go, making sure the tools are all configured correctly. Scan out.
Alec Kodoff. I'm Flight Engineer Expedition 15 of International Space Station, and today I had a chance to work in a log with excellent specialists, the best astronauts from the 117 crew as an IV crew member. So, yeah, I really enjoyed to do that. So that's fine. This is Swanee. He was our leader and instructor, and he checked us whole time.
In the arc we put in Jim Riley first, then we backed in Danny Levis. We all were given the last handshakes before we closed the hatch on them, making sure everything's set for them.
So this is Brew and myself getting the big arm ready for the later on solar array retraction, in which we would be flying Jim Riley around during the retraction. So here we're just doing the hand controller calibration and making sure that the arm is in the appropriate place for the start.
Yeah, then it was time for me, Jim Riley, and Danny Levis to come out the hatch and start the EVA-3. And here you see us coming out of the International Space Station airlock to begin the task for today. We had two big tasks. Danny was working on some repairs on the ohms pod on the shuttle. While he was doing that, I was replacing a vent on the end of the lab, on the forward end of the lab at the International Space Station today. Forster, I was inside the shuttle doing the IV task where I would read through the procedures and give direction to each of the spacewalkers. It was a challenge today because we had them in two different locations working two different procedures. We also had someone looking out the window monitoring clearance for both the arm. That's Drew Archibald right there. There's a great shot of JR. He was setting up the arm with the foot restraint so that Danny could get in it. That arm was then flown over by Brew and Steve Swanson to do the ohms pod repair. As Pat said, it was a busy robotics day in support of the EVA. We started out, the first of ours was with the Space Shuttle robotic arm, where we took Daniel Levis from the U.S. lab and moved him over to the work site on the left ohms pod. This was a real treat for those in the shuttle today because Jim Riley was working just a couple feet above our head, and so we were able to have a nice close-up view of what he was doing. Now there's a picture right there. You see the silhouette against the earth. That's Danny on a robotic arm, and that's a really great shot. And then here's what it looks like for him. You're seeing this out of his helmet cam as he moved into location to help repair the ohms pod. That's the view that he had.
You can see the damage that we were trying to repair on the ohms pod. You see it was essentially a blanket which peeled up from a corner, lifted up. In addition, you had the adjacent blanket that had been disturbed and actually pulled up. Fortunately for us, the front pile in front of it had not been damaged, so all we had to do was do a repair to the blanket. And the procedure was actually pretty straightforward. Engineers on the ground and a bunch of the folks had developed this procedure. So basically, sticking the blanket in place and then to the use of surgical staples and pins, which had been designed actually for another repair, we were able to cinch the blanket down. You can see here, this is actually using a surgical staple like the kind that you find in most hospitals. We have several of these on station as well as on shuttle. And as part of the repair procedure, it involved putting these long pins that were designed actually for a different type of repair, but they're high temperature, capable of being able to handle high temperatures. And we inserted these and essentially just pinned the blankets into the tile themselves to prevent them from moving during entry.
We have Jim Riley out on the robotic arm on the left wing, and we have Danny on the mass canister there in the middle that was working the right array. And what we needed them to do was to continue, we call it fluffing, but basically moving the solar panels so that they remained free